Easy. Take it easy.
I got you. Take it easy. Hey, what's cracking lacking, Alex? You already know who I am. I want to congratulate the podcast called Talking Taker. Congratulate all of you guys. You guys are on your 200th episode. Yeah, I guess you've been digging up Undertaker matches and critiquing them and having fun with them. Hey, well, that's pretty cool. You guys probably make it to 1,000, 2,000, as many matches as he's made. So I want to shout out to you guys. That's pretty cool. I'm going to have to try to catch some of the episodes, man, because if anybody, I know him probably better than most. And it was an honor for him to, an honor for me to hear him say something about me in the Hall of Fame speech, man. Even though bad influence, come on, man. Bad influence? Drank a bunch of whiskey we did and everything else, but bad influence? Nah, I was a good influence on him. And on that story on the pants, a lot of people don't know this, but I'm going to let you guys in on a little dirt. Taker's got his own podcast. It's just like Stone Cold. It's on Spotify, Peacock, whatever networks and platforms Stone Cold's is on. His is on. He's done a few episodes already. They're in a can. I don't know when they're going to release them, but when they do, I'm the second episode. And we talk about the rumor of whether or not Undertaker borrowed a pair of my pants to wrestle in Survivor Series. Now, I've been telling people for years, those were not my pants. I had pants similar to those. We wore the same size pants, but those were not my pants. And we're going to talk about it on the podcast. So I'm going to let you hear his answer when he says it. But those were not my pants. And I'm telling you, those were not my pants. But wait till the podcast comes out. And then on that episode, you'll find out what he says. But like I said, they weren't my pants. But once again, I want to congratulate you guys. And, it's a good thing because he's a good dude, man. He's a really good dude. So shout out to everybody, like I said, at Talking Taker. And congratulations on the 200th episode of your show. Peace.
All right, creatures of the night. Welcome to episode 200 of Talking Taker, our encyclopedic exploration digging up the career of the greatest professional wrestling character of all time, The Undertaker. He is also the latest inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame, and this is yet another round of Dead Man Talking. My name is Alex Doriot, of course, and I am one of the creatures of the night, and I am joined, as always, by my tag team partner, my wrestling buddy, my fellow creature of the night. He is now entering the Titantron, Mr. Travis White. And Travis, we have just had an incredible introduction to this podcast from a friend of the show, The Godfather. The Undertaker has entered the Hall of Fame. So what better occasion tonight than to talk about the greatest entrances of the dead man's career?
Oh, I know. It's going to be a fun one. I'm excited about this. I'm excited for that intro we had. I'm excited to enter the Titantron. I'm excited for all this stuff. It's going to be fun to talk about these. I'm sure there'll be a lot of similarities. We have not talked about them. We haven't discussed them.
Not a bit.
Nothing at all. In fact, I was just holding down my numbers right before we went on here. So
I honestly was too. I've changed my list every day for the past 7 days. Like sometimes completely. I've had things in the top 3 that I've taken out and are not even on the list anymore. So yeah, I'm all over the place.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it later when we get to it. But yeah, it's going to be fun, man. And we're excited. We heard from a lot of you guys and what your favorites were. So that's fun,
We heard from a lot of you. And like I said, we just heard from the Godfather, Charles Wright. Excuse me. He's not related to you. That's another. There's a Charles White that's related to you, but not Charles Wright. Dude, breaking news from the Godfather in his intro.
Right
oh, my goodness.
We're spilling tea on Talking Taker. Spilling Jack, probably, actually. Yeah, dude, he just announced. I mean, there's rumblings online. Taker's getting his own podcast, like the Broken Skull Sessions. But according to our friend, the Godfather, they got some in the can already. And episode 2, allegedly, according to him, is going to be the Godfather.
That's
So,
it, dude. And
that's
can't
exciting.
wait for the whole podcast. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, is there 1% of me that's a little bitter that we're not co-hosting it with Undertaker?
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. Of course there is. But come on. And in all seriousness, that's incredible that we're going to have some sort of, whether it's a podcast or whether it's like a Broken Skull session, interview thing on the network or on Peacock, whatever it ends up being, we're going to talk about it. We can't wait for it. We're going to watch it. And I can't wait for an hour and a half of Godfather and Taker shooting the crap over some shots of Jack.
Yeah, and let's just rewind the clock. Did you think we'd sit here and talk about Undertaker having his own talk show podcast?
Did you think we'd be here after 200 episodes?
Yeah, that too.
Unbelievable, man.
Unbelievable.
And of course, the record has been set straight officially. We've talked about it. We asked Godfather about it when we met him in 2020, but we didn't get it on recording. But there it is, official audio recording. Settled completely the debate over the infamous pants from Survivor Series 2000.
According to that tease, they're not his pants. But I'm going to stay tuned. Maybe he was just pulling our leg.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, dude, that obviously that incredible introduction. We could talk about that all night. We've got our top 10 list that we're going to get to here later on. That's going to be the main event. We've even also got another special guest that's going to join us for this episode of Talking Taker. We've got a special interview with someone who was actually a part of one of these entrances, one of the most legendary Undertaker entrances.
Yes.
An entrance that I think is going to be on both of our top 10 lists, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I'd say it is. If it's not, we don't deserve to do any more of these.
So we'll get to that later on in the show as well. Seriously, folks, stay tuned for this. It's very, very cool. But if you're listening to this podcast, last month, I know you were watching the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony, main evented by The Undertaker. And so we're actually, I guess we're kind of late on the game. People have been talking about it for a month now. So it happened on April 1st. So it's a month since it happened. But we're going to come in here and give our thoughts. I don't think we need to recap it, Travis, and go through note by note. There's plenty of other people who have done that.
Yep.
Collecting Dead Man on his podcast right after the Hall of Fame. He did a great recap of the whole thing. If you guys want to go check that out. But we're of course going to give some thoughts about it. We have to here. Travis, I'll start with this. Greatest Hall of Fame speech of all time?
Hands down. I can't, and that's not just. I've had a month to think about it now. At first, when I first heard it, but I don't want it to be recency bias. A lot of times the most recent thing you've heard is the best thing or whatever. But no, I've had time to mull it over in my brain for a month now, and I agree. It is the best Hall of Fame speech that there has ever been. I mean, part of it's because he got to have like the Zack Snyder cut, like for an hour long.
Sure, longest one ever.
but still, the content of it was insane, amazing, and dude, the ovation. I haven't heard something like that except for when Hogan came back and when the crowd basically turned him face, in 2002. That, I haven't heard an ovation like that for anybody. And that's probably eclipsed that Hogan one. I haven't gone back and timed it, but it was 10 minutes of the crowd. That Dallas crowd was on fire the whole weekend. I'm jumping ahead, but WrestleMania 38, one of my favorite in recent memories. That may be recency bias, but just the crowd was insane, and they were insane at the Hall of Fame, and they were so good. They added to that. They added to it. A lot of times those cat calls take away. They added so much to that night.
Without question, and that's crazy because they'd already sat through a whole episode of SmackDown.
Yes.
They'd already sat through another hour of Hall of Fame speeches before that. So for them to be that alive at I guess when it was airing live, it was probably like after midnight,
it was
once
almost
Taker's
midnight,
speech
probably,
started, something around there. So yeah.
Probably 11:30, then he talked for an hour, so yeah.
The crowd added a ton to it. I mean, I love the Hall of Fame. I look forward to it every year, but is there really even a question of like who else? Like, I mean, Scott Hall had a great speech.
Hall was awesome.
Warrior had a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby the Brain Heenan's was memorable. Kurt Angle, Edge. I mean, there have been some good ones, but Undertaker, like, I know that people are going to say we're homers here, but I really do think he changed the game as far as what the Hall of Fame is even capable of with his speech. It's people have compared it to like a TED Talk as he walked around with his I call it a Garth Brooks microphone. I guess it depends on your generation. Yeah, Britney Spears mic. I think you call it a Justin Bieber mic, whatever generation you're from. I call it a Garth Brooks mic. But people called it a TED Talk. I think so. A motivational speech. And I don't know if a lot of other people will appreciate this, Travis, but I think I know what you and I thought it was. Taker was preaching a sermon up there on the stage. That's what he was doing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. He was preaching, man. He was. And I love it, dude. Yeah, he was getting at it, and it was great. And he said his stuff, and he said his silly stuff. But, yeah, he got down to real-life stuff, man. He was preaching up there and setting an example for guys in the business in the future, And I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I loved his shout-out to his wife, talking about her and her influence on him. I mean, come on, dude. 5 years ago, we never thought we'd see that,
Absolutely
and
not.
just letting the Undertaker character it's been peeled back. It's been peeled back with The Last Ride. It's been peeled back with Broken Skull. It completely was gone that night, and that was Mark Calloway accepting that on behalf of the Undertaker. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference there. When an Academy Award winner accepts an award, they accept it as them.
Yes.
This was, him accepting as a character he played, rather than just like Warrior is Warrior, So I don't know. It meant a lot, and it was really, really cool. And
it was so unexpected. I had we talked. We gave our initial reactions when we heard he was going into the Hall of Fame. We had no idea what it was going to be like. Is he going to come out, wearing a robe, or is he going to do something short and sweet? I don't think anybody saw him going an hour like that and doing what he did, and it flew by. It didn't feel like an hour at all. But
they didn't have to get Kane out there to pull him off, and he's talking about his mama or something like Mr. T.
No,
that felt like
they
it was
wouldn't
6 hours
have
long.
though.
Yeah, no.
Came out there just. I mean, can we talk about that suit? I mean, looking fly.
Looking
what
fresh.
a fit, dude, on Taker. I love that suit. But it wasn't all about just his career. It wasn't all just about telling stories. It wasn't all about giving thanks, but he did do that. He mentioned some of his greatest opponents. He mentioned all the backstage people, but he was giving his finishing moves, his mental moves, and all these life lessons, and really trying to impart wisdom on the wrestlers on the stage, but just as a fan in general. You could not be a wrestling fan, and you could still get something out of his Hall of Fame speech, and that's what made it really special.
Oh yeah, absolutely, without question. And everybody that was in the audience that night, and all the wrestlers on the stage, like, they should take what he said and listen to it. Like, it was an honor for them to be there in the presence of that, live and in person. So it was a very uplifting speech, and I appreciate the humor. And of course, some people knock him, like, well, he left out McFoley or he left out Austin or Rock, but you can't get everybody in, dude. You can't. And he got the stuff in that he needed to. Those guys know how much they meant to his career. Those things don't have to be said, but he had a more important message to get out, with all, like you said, his mental moves and all that stuff. It was really, really cool. So,
did you have like I said, we won't need to recap everything he said. Did you have a favorite moment or favorite story or favorite line in there just jumping out to you?
I mean, honestly, one of my favorite things was just the ovation, honestly. Just the fans and just the sheer admiration. It wasn't – sometimes that stuff is the crowd getting themselves over, popping themselves because, we're going to be on TV, we're going to get ours. No. That was not what that was. That was them showing this man who's been doing this for 30 years how much he means to them. How much he means to the crowd. Like, that was sheer admiration, honor, respect, joy. Like, that was what that was. So that meant a lot to me. I was getting goosebumps watching it, getting teary-eyed just watching it. I mean, I'm not afraid to say that, just the ovation. Then him talking, I think my favorite part that popped me the most was talking about Kane stole all his moves. That's just funny. So that was
I thought your favorite part was red beans and rice.
Oh, come on. Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. Yeah, I immediately posted that afterward. You're right. Red beans and rice, and then somebody yells at red beans and rice. Come on. Yeah, so that probably was my favorite. I forgot about that.
That was ridiculous.
It was great.
Man, I really loved all the road stories, backstage stories, talking about his dad, talking about perception is reality. You know, that's something that I firmly believe and hold true in my life. And I think that's a great lesson for people to have. I got emotional when he, it's just crazy. Can you believe the Undertaker, like, professed his faith in Jesus Christ on stage in the Hall of Fame, going from the guy who crucified Stone Cold Steve Austin 25 years ago to talking about his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and his wife and his kids. I mean, come full circle, and so happy for him that he's found that peace and that happiness and that meaning in his life.
Yeah, exactly.
As a human being, we didn't even talk about Vince. What did you think about Vince's intro and for Taker?
Oh, great! He's the only one that could have done it. It's his greatest creation, you know. So I'm glad he got to do it. He was looking sharp too, like he always is. He got the biggest knots in his time, man. I can't even count. It's so
I've
great.
I've tried before. I can't do it. No, I can't do it.
But anyway, Vince did a great job, man. He really did, and you could tell he was moved by it too. So
yeah, you can hear them when they embrace. You can hear their mics on. They tell each other they love each other.
I love you. Yeah, it's a big deal.
He plugged all the different.
Vince has never told Shane that in his life. For shoot, probably. I'm just kidding. But seriously, probably.
He plugged the whole history of Talking Taker in his speech. He listed off all the Undertaker's opponents and all his favorite episodes. He said Brian Lee. I did not have money on Vince McMahon saying the name Brian Lee in his induction speech. No. I didn't even know he knew what that guy's name was, but that was funny. And the three most important words of that speech, Travis: never say never.
There you go.
We could have another few episodes to do. You never know.
We may. I don't think so, but
but the door is open.
He just has to say that. Yeah, you gotta say that. That's like the teaser at the end of a Marvel movie.
Oh yeah, of course.
Or a DC movie.
That's a great way to
constantly cancel and rearrange.
We got to have a comic book movie reference on here. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah. Let me hit a couple other things just about WrestleMania weekend that I think we do need to mention.
Did you do anything big on that night?
Well, thank you. Yeah. Well, we got to talk about that. It's kind of shameful that you and I, the host of this podcast, did not watch the Hall of Fame speech of The Undertaker live.
Right.
But we had our reasons. Travis, what was your reason?
I was at one of the Undertaker's dental patients' comedy specials. Yeah, Nate Bargatze, my favorite comedian. So, who we posted a picture last year of Taker jokingly coming in and being his dentist. So, and they even mentioned that on an episode of his podcast a few weeks ago, talking about his dentist being Undertaker. So that's pretty funny. So, but I was there.
It's a pretty good reason. Pretty good reason.
And a cool Taker link, you know?
Yep.
Pretty funny. Yep. But anyway, and you were just sitting around the house doing nothing, like a bum, right?
I mean, I was actually in the hospital on April 1st. So technically during the Hall of Fame, it was not during Taker's speech, but at 10:55 p.m. On April 1st, 2022, my daughter was born, Joan, and she's still alive and kicking and doing well and doing healthy and unbelievable. My daughter was born during Taker's Hall of Fame speech.
Crazy.
You couldn't time it any more perfectly. She was 8 days late, so she was just waiting to come out on the same day the Undertaker went into the Hall of Fame. Unbelievable. She
wanted to hear that talk, man.
She did, and she got to hear some of it. So it took me like a week actually to watch it. As any of you have had a child, you probably understand that. We did actually watch a little bit of WrestleMania live on Saturday night, sitting in the hospital on my phone. So watched about half of that night's WrestleMania live. But I've since been able to watch the whole thing in pieces and watch the Hall of Fame speech.
There's a Garth Brooksism for you. In pieces.
Great album. I tried to watch Taker's speech all in one chunk. It ended up splitting it in two. But I wanted to be able to see that one as much in full as possible, and it was great. So I do want to go back and watch it again when I'm not sleep deprived also. So
about 18
one
years,
day,
man.
One day I'll get around to that.
2040, you get it.
But thank you for all the well wishes from the Talking Taker listeners on that. Appreciate that. And thank you to your well wishes as well, Travis. Appreciate that. And you seen her picture in a talking Taker, Undertaker onesies on our social media pages. So you guys may hear her on future podcasts as well, crying in the background. We'll see about that. But back to Taker, of course, he had his statue revealed at WrestleMania Access, something that only, I think, 5 or 6 legends have had so far, these bronze statues. They've had Warrior and Flair and Dusty, so he gets to join that crew. Pretty awesome. And
Seth Rollins is supposed to have one, but it was Sting, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Forgot that's what that was. Yeah.
Sting and half his face paint was gone because it was so hot.
Oh, man. Taker, of course, appeared on both nights of WrestleMania. The only Hall of Famer to do that. The other Hall of Famers did not appear on night 2. And first night, he did not look back to the crowd, but the second night, he did do the turn and look back. And, I don't know if there's any meaning or symbolism in that, but it happened. And, of course, he got another incredible reaction from the crowd.
So good.
And then, I'm not sure if this is confirmed or not, but I did see some speculation, and I noticed it too, that I think maybe Edge did a little bit of a nod to Undertaker with his gear, with the colors, and his entrance a little bit. Seemed like it was sort of Undertaker inspired, but maybe that was just a coincidence. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we know how much Taker means to Edge, and we've talked about that a lot on this show. And honestly, what Edge is doing right now is very reminiscent of a Ministry-style Taker. That era he's bringing in.
You talking about Judgment Day?
Yeah, I wish you brought Jerry Lynn in for that. Yeah, I wish that was their theme song. Judgment Day. Yeah, but no, man.
He should just intro them every week.
That's what I'm saying. Just say that little sound clip.
No, he should be there every week, just on the mic, like
Alejandro Estrada.
Yeah.
Judgment Day, and then they just come out.
Why not?
Their slow alter bridge song. Yeah, but no, I think you'd be an idiot to think that Edge is not somewhat giving an homage to his time in the Ministry and Taker with all of this new character he has. So I love it.
It was great match he had at WrestleMania. Like you said, the whole WrestleMania was very, very fun. The celebrities were all great. All their matches were outstanding.
Yeah.
And I'm including, as a celebrity, Stone Cold Steve Austin in that. I mean, unbelievable.
I just can't even believe
it was surreal.
That he main evented WrestleMania, and Kevin Owens got to main event WrestleMania. That is just, that's a whole nother podcast we can talk about.
And Vince had to one-up him by coming out of retirement the next night.
That's because he's Vince. And Pat McAfee said that was a shoot. He didn't know it was happening. So
what?
I watched his. He recapped the whole weekend on his Pat McAfee show. He didn't know the cheerleaders were going to be in his entrance until the night before they did rehearsals. That was all new to him. But the Vince thing, he legit didn't know that was happening, and then he just had to go with it. And then when Austin called him in the ring afterward, he's like, "I've seen this enough in my life. I know what to do." But that was all called on the fly. He did not know. Like Vince and them, the production knew, but they didn't tell Pat McAfee that was
unbelievable. Happening. That's incredible.
Which is amazing. And he went with, and McAfee was. I can talk about him for 2 hours. He was insanely good. So,
who had the better center cell, Austin Theory or Pat McAfee?
That's a toss-up, man. That's a coin flip, dude. They're both great.
I think I put Theories slightly above.
Was really good,
McAfee.
But I just love McAfee. Is just a dead stop and it's great. They're both great.
And chugging the beer outside while he's unconscious.
But anyway,
definitely, folks. Of course, another plug for a friend of ours, the Bottom Line Wrestling Cast. Must listen to them talking about this match, doing a great recap of the build-up and of the match itself. And my favorite part was JV did a beer tracker of all the beers that Stone Cold drank during the match, and it was over 24 that he drank during the actual match against Kevin Owens. Fantastic stuff, man. So Undertaker, of course, continued to make appearances throughout the week before WrestleMania. Even the night after WrestleMania, he did this interview, post-Raw Q&A session. You can find some video of that up on YouTube. And, of course, the big news is he's got he's going to be competing with us and Collecting Dead Man and Taker Mania podcast with his own podcast coming out soon. And you heard some details about that in the intro with Godfather. I'm sure we will discuss that more in the future as well. Got anything else?
No, I just can't believe it.
I can't believe it, man.
I can't, man. I'm just bamboozled by it. So
that's one word for it.
Yeah, I had to pull something else out. So.
Well, maybe if he needs to plug his new podcast, he can come on this podcast. Yeah, the invitation is open, Taker. So
yeah, make an entrance.
Love it, Travis. You've got the segue here to the main event. So this month's episode of Talking Taker is all about entrances, the greatest entrances of all time by The Undertaker throughout his 30-year career. I think it's a very fitting way to celebrate his Hall of Fame entrance here. Mm-hmm. This was voted by you, the listeners. We put a poll up and had a few matches that we could go back and cover for their anniversary here in the month of May. And then we had this option on there, and it was razor-thin margin, but this one just barely won out on there. So I am excited to do it.
This is the one I selfishly wanted to win, and I'm glad it did win. So, yeah, I was excited to do this one. So, I mean, I was excited to do all of them, but this is the one I wanted to do more, quickly. I wanted to get this one done now, so...
And we'll continue to do that. We won't do it every month. I do have a few specific episodes I want to do based on some anniversaries coming up here in the next few months. But some other months, we'll definitely throw a poll up there and see what you guys would like to hear from us. But we're going to do what we've done for our other top 10 list that we've done through Taker matches of different eras of his career. You and I, Travis, will go back and forth and alternate with our choices. For me, like I said, I debated once this topic was chosen. I kind of wrote down about 20 of them in my head that I knew were iconic, and then tried really hard. I think I texted you, was like, can we push it to 15? Because I don't know how to cut these down.
Yeah.
I went back and watched as many as I could on Peacock, and ultimately the factors that I came down to base my picks off of were just initial memorability, just the ones that pop into your head, spectacle, what are the biggest, most spectacular, stupendous ones.
Oh, there you go.
I tried to factor in the importance of them. If it was a very important match or an important moment, that got it a little extra weight in my book. The crowd reaction, how big is the crowd into them? And then the uniqueness of them, because every entrance of The Undertaker is grand and is a spectacle, but there are some that I put the ones that were really unique that gave them an extra boost in my book.
Yeah, and now we didn't even discuss, this is the first time we're mentioning this, but are you doing match entrances? Or like entrances to matches, or do you have some that are entrances, just, there's certain things that, here's the thing, okay.
I know what you're saying.
Okay, yeah, there are certain entrances that he has made that have been absolutely insane. And I wrote 2 of them down on mine, and then I remembered, oh crap, those weren't matches. I took them off. Because I originally, when you told me we're winning this, or we're doing this top 10, I wrote down the first 12 that came to my mind, just came to my mind. The first 12 I could possibly get. I typed them all on my notes on my phone, and then that was it. I was done. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to research them. I'm not going to look into them anymore. I'm not going to go. I don't want to watch top 10 lists and say, oh, and then get that recency bias. I didn't want to do that. So I just went from my memory, the impact they had on me, what I remember about it, what I remembered from going through them on Talking Taker. And then I had 12 of them because they just came to me. And 2 of them, I was like, dang it, those weren't match entrances. They were in great entrances, and we'll probably get to them if you put that. So I took those 2 off of mine.
If you want to readjust it, I
don't.
I considered them. I won't say whether they're on my list or not, but I did. Those were definitely in consideration for me. I know probably which ones you're talking about. No,
I'm going to leave mine as I have it, and I left my 10. I cut those 2 off because they weren't technically match entrances. They were fantastic entrances. And then had my 10, and then didn't even put them in order until right before we started recording because I was like, I knew.
Just go with your gut.
I'll be honest with you. 1 and 2 right now. Say 1 or 2 and 1 or 2.
All
So
right, we'll go with your
gonna,
feeling.
We're gonna get down to it when we get down to it here. So
I mean, mine was
3, 4,
adjusted
5 were.
this afternoon. It was tweaked this afternoon.
And I didn't want to go too much over it. A, I haven't. To be honest with you, I haven't had that much time, but to focus on. But B, I really didn't want to. I did that with our top 10s a long time ago, and I just kind of overthought it and was like, "What do the fans want?" No, I want to do what do I think my 10 for me, my 10 best entrances are, you know, and so I didn't want to think too much about it and overthink it, which is what I tend to do in life. So I just went with my gut. The first 10 I wrote down and kind of put them in order here, and we'll see. Aim small, miss small, baby.
I think that's perfect, and I'll say the same thing for me. This is my personal top 10 list, and this is your personal top 10 list of Undertaker's entrances, because I think based on some Twitter reactions from some of our listeners, people everybody's list is going to be very different. There are people listening to this, they're going to be like, how did you not have such and such on your list? And I'm not saying you're wrong. You could make there's 30 or 40 of these that you could make a top 10 list that's completely different than ours, and I would say that's a great top 10 list.
Yeah. Or you could,
and
you could
wouldn't
do them
argue
straight out of WrestleMania and be fine. Like
easily.
Mine,
that was hard to not have them all be WrestleMania.
It was, man. At first I'm thinking about it, I was like, I'm just write these 10 down, and then I was like, if they're all WrestleMania, that's good, but if not, no. So luckily they aren't. But yeah, you could do 10 WrestleMania entries and be like, those are the 10 best ever. And I would be like, yeah, you're right. They are.
Well, I'm very interested to hear it, man. Let's get to it, because I'm wondering how far apart ours are going to be, or how close, because we don't argue too much on this podcast. We share a lot of the same opinions. Some of our top 10 lists were very similar. Some of them were pretty different, but some of them were pretty similar. So I'm very intrigued by this. I don't remember the last top 10. Who went first?
Why don't you go first?
I'll go first.
I feel like I go first all the time.
All right, that's
Even
fine.
if I don't.
I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
So we will list some honorable mentions at the end. I don't want to spoil it because I don't know what you have.
Exactly.
And then,
I'll
of course,
save some of those entrances.
We got some Twitter feedback, so we'll talk about what some of our fans and listeners pointed out. So like I said, this is very, very difficult. But again, I'm going with memorability, uniqueness here. This is a big factor in my number 10 choice. Number 10 for me came from 1996, from the Survivor Series in 1996 at Madison Square Garden. I call this one the Batman entrance. Again, very unique. This is Undertaker being lowered down from the ceiling. As far as I recall, the only time he was ever lowered down from the ceiling. We've often seen him come up from below, but he lowered down to the ceiling wearing his Batman cape and his leather daddy outfit. And that
he hates.
It's the blow-off match with Mankind. It's sort of his resurrection, because he was buried alive the month before. And it's the first time in his career he's without the gloves, purple or gray gloves, and the stirrups and everything. So it's a big look change. And that's just one, when I think of Undertaker entrances, that's one of the ones that comes straight to my mind.
Oh, I can't agree anymore, man, except for mine's a little bit up there.
Okay,
so
fair enough.
You'll see that again.
All right. We'll talk about it again later. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get to it later. So, yeah, that's a great call, man. Great call. My number 10 is going to be probably higher on a lot of folks' lists. And it was, as I was going through this beforehand, it was kind of bouncing around at the bottom. But, this was WrestleMania 29. This is a great intro. I know a lot of guys love this one. It's one of the top ones, It's a great match. One of my favorite matches of Taker's. But this is the short sleeve Super Shredder. You got him coming out. You got all the I guess dead people raising up out of the grave with the smoke, and that I remember like he's standing there and that silhouette just kind of appears and the light comes up behind him, and then you just see him, and it's just, man, it's so cool. And then New York is on fire behind him, like on the stage. It's so great, man. And that's got to be on anybody's top 10 list, I'd imagine, as far as entrances go for him. So
I think so. It's very tough to pick between the WrestleMania entrances.
Yeah, it really is.
That one's got that unique factor of the intro, and it's a great match against CM Punk as well. So very good, excellent choice. That's a tough to rise up from that. If that's at the top, it's at the bottom of the top 10.
It is.
Okay, all right. Number 9 for me. Not as much of a spectacle. Some would argue maybe this one, this might not be on a lot of people's top 10. Maybe it's on everybody's. I don't know. That's the thing with all this. But this one, it does not have the spectacle of it. But as far as importance, I feel like I had to put it on the list. I'm going with another Survivor Series here. And this time I'm going to Survivor Series 1990. The Undertaker's debut walk to the ring, because I think his presence is just instantly felt. That character is established from the moment he walks through the curtain.
Yep.
His look, Brother Love walking him down the aisle. We all know Ted DiBiase's speech introing him. We all remember Gorilla Monsoon and Roddy Piper talking about the size of his ham hock and all that stuff. I mean,
kids, man.
The looks on kids' faces. I mean, before he does a move, this Undertaker character is established, and I think that is from his presence walking through the curtain. So, yeah, it doesn't have fireworks, it doesn't have pyro, it doesn't have this grand theatrical nature to it, but I think his entrance was so important there, it set the path for his career for 30 years, and so that's why I wanted to include it.
Absolutely. It's legendary. It's absolutely legendary. You wouldn't have the rest of these if you didn't have that one. And if that one didn't nail it on the first try, they wouldn't, there would have been no reason to keep going for this stuff. So, couldn't agree more, man.
All right.
My number 9 is one that's probably higher on your list, but this is SummerSlam, the SummerSlam 1992.
Great one.
Wembley. The back of the hearse.
Wembley.
Dude. Are you kidding me? Like, just with the coffin in there, and just, oh man, he wrestled with Kamala, right?
Kamala.
Yeah, in the coffin match, casket match, whatever it was called back then. Just seeing him again, kind of on. Some people might look at him like, oh, it's kind of hokey. He's on the hearse. Like, no, dude, that was like character stuff. Like, that was awesome. He's on the hearse, riding out long rampway, like long aisleway. So cool, man. And I just have such vivid memory. It just stands like I didn't have to think twice about that. Like that was on my list, no questions asked. So that was my number 9
for the time period. For sure. I think it stands out, and it's crazy that he never did another hearse entrance through all his years. Like, that's so obvious to do that hearse entrance. I don't think he ever did it again. But it's so unique and cool. This next one for me, number 8, is very unique as well. This is my first WrestleMania entrance on my list. It's my first Biker Taker entrance on my list. And this is WrestleMania 19, featuring WWE's favorite band in the whole wide world, Limp Bizkit. Like, all of Taker's Biker WrestleMania entrances were epic, because this is the only time you got to gas that bike up and ride down that long ramp. But this one had Fred Durst and Limp Bizkit performing Rollin' with the dancers. And
the little girls doing the dance and Rollin'. It was great, man.
Say what you will about Limp Bizkit, and you can say a lot about Limp Bizkit.
Oh, I could say a lot about how much
2003, they were one of the biggest bands in the entire world. Like, whether you like it or not, that's the fact. And they were out there with Undertaker, making Undertaker look cool. And Fred Durst is into it. He's rocking out. There's all sorts of pyro and fireworks as Taker comes out. I mean, it is just a moment, a huge deal.
He's also got that American flag on the back of his chopper, too.
Yep.
Yeah, and it just blowing in the wind as he's driving down there. Yeah, it's awesome. That's a good one.
The importance of the match does not factor into this one. That match is pointless, but the entrance itself, I think, more than makes up for it, and I had to have that one on my list.
That's fantastic. I will tell you, that one is not on my list.
Yeah,
because of Fred Durst, but I do have some Biker Taker-ish coming up, so yeah. Right. But that is a great one, man. That is a great one. That was probably on an outlier, for like just right on the outskirts of making it. So
I understand.
My number, what are we at? 8 is also a quasi Biker Taker entrance. This is his most recent entrance into his final match ever, WrestleMania 36. Dude, you got the cinematic thing. You got the Metallica. You got him as Undertaker, but kind of Biker Taker coming in, and it's the last ride. It's literally the last ride, his last entrance for a match that he makes. And it was just so good to see him kind of bring what he called the three-headed devil. Well, he had all three of his, personas kind of together, that night. Right. So just seeing it all and just the way it was shot, and just having Metallica, they licensed the music for it, man. It brought so much to that. So maybe a little lower than some people have on their list, but that's my number 8. WrestleMania 36 Boneyard Taker entrance.
Well, it's only slightly lower for me because I've got it at number 7 right here.
Boom,
WrestleMania 36, the cinematic Boneyard entrance. Like you said, he's coming into Now That We're Dead by Metallica, and it's just perfect. And going back to like Survivor Series 1990, this entrance right here set the stage for the first cinematic match. We're in the first few weeks, the first month of the pandemic. Like, no one knows what WrestleMania is going to be like. It's so weird watching WrestleMania at the Performance Center. And then we cut to the cinematic Boneyard match, and nobody knows what that means. This could have been a joke. This could have been a flop. This could have been wrestle crap. This could have been just a disaster. We saw with
Dungeon of Doom, White Castle.
Take your pick with some of the cinematic matches of the past couple of years. It could have been, it just could have been garbage. Yeah. But from that entrance, from Undertaker riding in on the bike with the Metallica playing, he walks off. It's like a movie. You're hooked. Every single person watching that match in March of 2020 is immediately hooked in, bought in all the way, and we get this match that's able to end the Undertaker's career in a satisfactory way for him. And that's why that entrance is so important, because if it had started bad, you would have been hard to recover from it. But it starts up here and it stays up here the whole time. So I'm so glad it's on your list.
Oh, yeah, very true. It's got to be on everybody's, man. This is one of the top 10. It's got to be. Well, my number 7 is one that I imagine is higher on your list, but it's right here for me, and it's WrestleMania 9. The black smoke, which is actually green, outside, the chariot that he's riding on, and dude, the vulture, like that just sticks out to my mind. Like, there's 2 wrestling moments with vultures, and one is that, and then one is staying in the rafters with the vulture, and like I will never forget those 2 images for the rest of my life. Like, those 2 stand out, and those are 2 of my favorite. Well, one's the one that got me into wrestling, Sting, and one's one who I think is the greatest ever now, Taker. 2 of my favorites, and like they both had this vulture thing going on. And like I've always just remembered, even when I was not even a big fan of Taker as a kid, like that entrance though, like seeing that and just with the vulture and like how intimidating that was. And then the camera turns and he's wrestling a guy in a naked suit. But like but that entrance that he makes is just incredible, man. It's incredible. It's
in the daylight, which makes it very unique and rare for him. And I'll tell you what, dude, if you go back throughout 30 years of Undertaker's career, I would wager money every single one of Undertaker's video packages, if there's a video package about his career, there's a shot of him on the chariot with the vulture. Every single time. Through the Attitude Era, through nowadays, his Hall of Fame, that is always in there.
Exactly, because it's iconic.
It is. Really is. Which is surprising that I did not rank it. It's so good. It's so classic, but I just...
you didn't have it.
I love it. I don't have it on mine. It didn't crack the top 10 for me.
Oh, wow.
It was
that
tough.
Surprises me very much.
This list is so hard. Wow. It could be number 1 if you ask me on a different day. But on my final list, it did not crack my top 10. That's how big these are.
I'm excited now about the rest of it. Yeah, it's cool.
Sure. Number 6 for me. This is where it gets really, really hard. But number 6 for me, WrestleMania again, and I don't think this is because we were there. I think it's just because it was awesome. But WrestleMania 20 for me is my number 6 Undertaker entrance of all time, because it is the return of the dead man, because we got the Druids coming out. It's Madison Square Garden. It's WrestleMania 20. Paul Bearer surprise appearance. We hear his voice. We see him walk out for the first time in years. The crowd is just in awe. Just an awesome reaction. Kane's reaction to Undertaker finally coming out.
I buried you alive. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Just the importance of it in his career. There's bigger and badder WrestleMania ones, but as far as just moments in time, I had to put that one on there. So it's number 6 for me, WrestleMania 20.
Oh, without question, it's got to be on there, man. So yeah, it's a fantastic, fantastic entrance that I'll talk about later.
Okay, fair enough. Yep.
6 for me. Yeah. So my number 6 is one that's probably a lot higher on a lot of people's, and this is WrestleMania. Arguably the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. Shawn versus Taker, WrestleMania 25. Heaven and hell. Shawn coming down from the heavens and Taker coming up from hell. It's just iconic. I'm never too big of a fan of Taker going all demonic and stuff, but I mean, for the imagery, for this, it was beautiful. It was just absolutely
light and the darkness.
Beautiful. Yeah, the light versus the dark, and it just you can't write a better story. That's the oldest story in literature ever. Is light and dark, good versus evil, and just seeing that, and again, just the importance of that entrance and what it meant to that match too, and that's my number 6.
Yeah, it really sets the scene for everything, and that's what we keep talking about that with these entrances. That's what an entrance is. That's what it's supposed to do. It sucks you into the match. That's what an Undertaker entrance really especially does, and that one does it probably better than any other. All right, number 5 for me. So we're getting into our top 5 here.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and say this is gonna be my most controversial pick on the list. My most unexpected pick on the list, I think, for a lot of people. But I'm going to argue for it here. Super Showdown 2019 is my number 5 pick. And that one you may be thinking, you may have even forgotten what even happens in that
I
entrance.
literally can't remember that entrance. Yeah.
I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to
that the
challenge
move
all of our
goes
listeners to go on Peacock and watch Super Showdown 2019 and watch the Undertaker's entrance, because I think it is the most grand and spectacular entrance, period, of the Undertaker's career. It is the biggest. This starts with some organ music playing. Some Druids come out and they've got their torches and they crisscross across the stage.
That's right.
There's 30 caskets standing up on the stage. There's an enormous video wall.
Yeah.
Finally, the music starts. He's got this hurricane or tornado of smoke and laser lights that he walks into.
That's right. Yeah, it's swirling around behind. Yeah.
Yep.
I remember that now.
He comes out. The whole arena is in flames. Fireworks shoot off from the top of the stadium as he walks into the ring. Dude, I'm telling you, all his Saudi entrances and the Australia show entrances are incredible.
Oh, yeah.
I went back and watched all of them, and this is the one. Man, this one is amazing. Match importance, again, not that big a deal. Match sucks, and it's not that important, and I think that's why people don't think about this one. But if you're an Undertaker fan, go back and watch this entrance and tell me
not wrong. Yeah.
It does not belong in the top 10. It's. I remember when we did it for the show, I remember thinking wow, this is spent a lot of money on this entrance, and for me, I wanted to rank it on there. I wanted to honor that, and that's my number 5.
Wow, that's a surprise to me, but I think that's a good. Now that you're talking about it, I remember it exactly now, and it is very spectacular. It is quite a spectacle. You're right, but that's funny. I didn't even think about that one. Go ahead, but that is very memorable. Now that you say it, that was number 5.
That was my number 5. Yes.
All right. So my number 5 is a biker taker, and this is WrestleMania 17.
Okay.
We got
Gotcha.
Kid Rock. We got the motorcycle, the long ramp. I mean, just the first time he really got to gun it, because he had arrived at Backlash 2000 the year before. So this is less than a year. He's finally gets to ride that bike all the way down a big grand. It's his first WrestleMania entrance as a biker taker.
Right.
Kid Rock singing. No, Kid Rock's pumping.
Nah,
I'm sorry.
I think
Kid Rock's
I think it's still Limp Bizkit.
Or Limp Bizkit, whatever. I forgot what it's probably edited, but anyway, it's blaring out there, and motorcycle again. Just seeing that, and that WrestleMania is the best of all time. So just it's just awesome. And then Triple H is gonna have the Motorhead.
Yeah, he's got Motorhead.
Too. So yeah.
I definitely considered 18, 17, and 19 in there. For me, I went with 19, but I don't have a problem going with 17. I mean, because that's, like you said, it's the first one of that kind, and it's probably
why I went with
the best WrestleMania ever. So I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah, 19th phenomenal, but I just went that one a little higher because to me it's the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, number 4. You mentioned it earlier. You thought it would be on my list. You are correct. This is my last pick was controversial. I think this was sentimental, man, and I had to put it on there. SummerSlam '92. I love it. It's so iconic to me in my childhood. It's really his first special entrance. People kind of forget about it. They remember WrestleMania 9. I don't think as many people remember this one, but it's simple. But it's spectacular. It's him riding on a hearse. Undertaker riding on the back of a hearse. And it's great for the time period. There's no fireworks. There's no pyro.
Nope.
But he is a star right there going in to face Kamala. It's pitch black outside there in Wembley. I just love it, man. It's a sentimental pick. But I do think it's important. It's the first one of these grand entrances, so it kind of sets the stage for what we get going forward.
No, I can't agree more, man. I knew it would be top 5 for you. I knew that one holds more sentimental aspect in your life than it does for me. But because you used to watch that tape,
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, it's ingrained in my brain. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but that is an iconic one. So I've already touched on that here. So number 4 for me. Oh crap, I lost. Oh, number 4 for me was you knew it had to be on there. It's Survivor Series 1996, Batman and Taker.
Okay.
Man. Who better? Go. So yeah, it's really high, but. Number 4, but again, I talk about Batman all the time on the show. I get Batman and Taker together. I know he hates his outfit that night. It was what it was. We're not talking about that. We're talking about that entrance. Just him, like you said, the wings out sprawled, coming down. Before, I think we touched on this in our episode about that, is before Sting started rappelling too. So,
yeah, that's a great point.
I believe so, because Sting had just kind of gone dark at that point, right after NWO debuted. So, Sting started doing it later, but just anytime somebody rappels down from the top, it's insane. It gets your attention, and just seeing him do that, like you said, seeing him without the gray gloves, it's his entrance there. He talks about it being an iconic entrance for him. He laughs about his outfit, the big bad leather daddy or whatever. But I love, I'll never forget that entrance, and just watching, to me, Batman come down from the ceiling. I can legit look at the 1989 Batman. And when Michael Keaton throws his arms out and flies at the bad guy in the opening scene, that's what it reminds me of, is that same thing. So, yeah, I love this entrance. I love
Awesome. It. Yeah, I should have known it'd be higher on your list. That makes a ton of sense. Well, my number 3 is one you have already mentioned as well, and I think it's way too low on your list, man. WrestleMania 29. That's my number 3 pick. I will say that everything from here on out has been number 1 at one point in my rankings. This was sitting at number 1 for me at one point, but I bumped it after really considering it. But man, it's you described it, those demons reaching out from the depths of hell, trying to drag Taker back in. It's just a shot.
It's
an image that we all remember. And then his walk to the ring as the Brooklyn Bridge set up is just in flames.
Yeah.
I mean, it's near the peak of his WrestleMania entrances. So yeah, definitely iconic. I think you could, like I said, it was number 1 for me at one point because it's so memorable. But I ended up bumping it down when I thought about these next 2. So
no, it's a great one. So I knew me putting it at 10 was going to be controversial here because, again, on a day you flip a coin and you say no, it's top 5. I get it. It's just it's subjective, but it's really good. But again, I made this list and there's just to me, what do I think? So number 3 for
Let's
me
hear it. Top 3
is one that. It's fantastic. It's the first time that I can remember that we see the Druids in his entrance. This is WrestleMania 14. This is right after the Pete Rose tombstone, and the crowd's pumped for that, and then the lights go black, and the crowd erupts. And then O Fortuna starts, and the Druids start coming out, and the crowd erupts. And then his actual music starts, and you hear Jim Ross say, this place is going to go, insane when he appears, and you get that third pop. We talk about that a lot of times. You get multiple pops for Taker's entrances, and this one is one of the first ones you really start to feel those multiple pops for his entrance. And when he comes out, I mean, they go bananas, and it is so cool. And just that outfit, the high neck, like pre-ministry cloak. There you go, right there. So the lighting, the theme, the thunder, the light, everything is just insane, over the top, amazing, and one of the, I mean, and it's his first match with his brother.
It's such an important match. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is.
Love the way you put it, right there. Great choice for your number 3, right there. Totally respect that.
It has to be top 3.
I think it does. Number 2 for me. And again, some people are listening. There's some bunch they haven't heard yet, and I know. It's just tough to leave some of these out. Ooh, number 2 for me is going to be WrestleMania 30. WrestleMania 30 is my number 2 Undertaker entrance of all time. And this one, I call it 22 caskets, because that's what we see at the beginning. We get some video footage, some like rough, grainy, black and white footage spliced in, interspersed as the camera scrolls, pans across the stage, and we see a casket with every single one of the Streak's victims' names on there, which is very, very grand. And then it ends, of course, on what's supposed to be the next victim is Brock Lesnar's name on a casket. Undertaker walks out and he looks over to that casket, and as he looks at it, it pops open, and then he takes a few more steps and he turns back at it again and sticks his hand out to it, and the casket bursts into flames.
So good.
Is there any better way to intimidate your opponent for WrestleMania than that? Like, are you
flaming
kidding me?
casket for him?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
and then his walk
right.
to the ring is great. They just shoot him from below. He looks like a monster. The stage is walking up. But dude, of course, he loses the first time in the streak to that match, and I think this incredible entrance adds to the shock of that that he's had. That it establishes him, it establishes that legacy, it establishes all the legends that he's beaten, and that the streak is like inevitable at this point. So it just adds to that shock factor when he doesn't win. And for me, for all those reasons, I put it at number 2, and I'm getting the feeling it's not even on your list.
Not even on my list. But you know why? It's a great interest. But because it didn't come to me right then when I wrote down my first 12 or whatever, I didn't even consider it. So that was my thing. Like,
I respect that.
Phenomenal entrance. I went back actually earlier today and was like, oh man, WrestleMania 30. Like, that was a great entrance. But again, because it didn't jump out, these are all ones right here that were the top 10, and I got 2 of them out, but we'll talk about them later. But yeah. So number 2 and number 1 right now.
Wow.
It's a coin flip.
My number 2 is not even in your top 10. That's
not
crazy.
Even your top
That's
10.
Crazy.
Again. And let's see. All right. So my number 2 is my top 2. I mean, controversial, which is fine. So my number 2 is one you've already touched on.
Okay.
And it's WrestleMania 20. Again, we were there. It's the Ooh Yeah with Paul Bearer. I mean, I remember specifically standing there, and that he went, ooh yeah, and you were like, Paul Bearer, and like I was like, what? And we were like, I mean, we were just freaking out because that did not even, it wasn't on our radar that he was going to come back, So it was just hearing that. MSG went insane. I know that part of the reason I love it so much is because we were in the stands, but he had a 4-year run as a Biker Taker, and this was a return to form, and this was what he would go on and end his career as, is this guy, kind of a hybrid between the, Biker Taker versus the dead cowboy Undertaker, So just that and the sheer spectacle of it, like you said, and the dragon tears falling from the flames, just that was unintentional, but it added, it made it so cool. That was not supposed to happen. They put too much kerosene on those torches, but anyway. That and just Kane's reaction and all that, just all the pieces, man. It was just so amazing to be there and so amazing to witness and see again. I think to me that's number 2 apparently, because I had that as 1 or 2. So now number 1 we'll get to in a minute. So
I get that, and that was some people's choices on Twitter as their number 1, and I think that's a great pick. I mean, it was number number 6 for me. It could have been in the top 2 or 3 for me. Absolutely. I don't know if you'll notice the new addition behind me. I just got a poster to represent that right here. The Undertaker and Kane. Nice. WrestleMania 20 poster to represent us being there. I thought that was a cool addition here on from eBay. And if you've been paying attention, if you've been watching the video version of the podcast, you will have seen a spoiler next to me for this entire episode. Just a little Easter egg for you paying attention, because my number one is your number 3, Travis. WrestleMania 14 is my number 1 Undertaker entrance.
Love it.
It was not my immediate number 1. Like I said, I've been tossing them around, but going back and watching it, man, like you said, oh Fortuna. The guys doing the Druids doing the torch tunnel as Undertaker walks through it. He's got this ultimate robe on from this new Undertaker Ultimate Edition figure, which is just spectacular. I mean, he looks like a beast walking out there with this look, and it's up to this point his most important match ever. Mm-hmm. Not a world title match, but this is his most important match ever against Kane. And it sets the stage that this is going to be a grand, I've said that word a bunch, grand, spectacular, incredible, stupendous battle between these two guys. This is something special, something unique here. And it's another one that just instantly comes to mind, comes to your head. And for me, that's why I ended up ranking it number 1, WrestleMania 14.
I didn't even see that spoiler in front of me, but yeah, it's awesome, man. That's great. I can't fault you for that. It's a wonderful number 1 pick. Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to do the thing?
Well, let's do your number 1 pick first.
Okay.
And then we'll go to our special guest interview, because I'm intrigued now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, my number 1 pick is definitely gonna be controversial, and that's fine. But again, these are the top 10 that I think stand out, and this one. You've already hit on it, actually.
Okay.
This is the Survivor Series 1990, the first one.
Wow.
And here's why I say.
Number 1.
It's not spectacular. It's not grandiose. It's not over top. All the things you said earlier. But it sets the stage. You know, when has there ever been a character that from the second he walks out, the crowd is those children were scared. Actually scared in the audience. Like, that is just, there's no other entrance, no other wrestler has ever made their first ever entrance and had that kind of an impact on night 1. I will take that to the grave with me. That is, so for that reason right there, and we would have had none of these other entrances if it weren't for that entrance.
Sure.
He didn't come out of an egg. He was, he was the Undertaker. Now looking in hindsight, would I rather have had Paul Bearer there than Brother Love? Yeah, but that wasn't the story at the time. But that entrance, you just knew. Again, he was green into the character. This was night 1, but it set the stage for why we're here 200 episodes, later. So to me, that's the number 1 because it has to be. It's the first one, made the most impact and literally terrified children in the audience. So
great argument, and I respect that. I understand it. Man, so Survivor Series 1990 is your number 1. WrestleMania 14 is my number 1. I imagine a lot of people listening to this are in shock, screaming at their phones, in their headphones, like, "How did you not have this? How did you not have that?" Mm-hmm. Wow, and that just goes to show you how iconic and memorable his entrances are. That we can have lists that are that different and that far apart, and people listening are going to have lists that are that different and that far apart. Very cool, man.
Yeah, and like I said, my number 1 and 2 were kind of a coin flip until right now. But again, I think I put them in that order because 2, you wouldn't have 2 without 1. So 2 was a return to the dead man. 1 was the birth of the dead man. So.
I like it. They go hand in hand. Well, you alluded to it, Travis, and we talked about it at the top of the show. We actually have a special guest interview that we're going to play for you all listening right now with someone who was a part of your number 3 entrance, my number 1 Undertaker entrance of all time. And this is not why I ranked it number 1, but it's kind of cool that it worked out this way. This is a guy named Ralph. And he was referred to us, if you will, by a friend of the show, Tommy on the Spot. Watch Along Tommy. He reached out to me and said he knew somebody who was a part of one of the Undertaker's most iconic entrances at WrestleMania 14, who was one of the Druids. So we're going to speak to one of the Druids here, folks, and a guy who was on the scene for this iconic entrance to tell us what it was like to be there in the Boston Garden on that special night, to hold one of the torches, to stand across from the Undertaker, even to go and hang out with Undertaker after after the show that night. So listen to this, folks, and then we're going to come back here and hit some closing notes, hit some of your Twitter comments, and some of the honorable mentions and things we left out for this match. So check out this interview, and then we will be right back. All right, so Travis and I, we have a very special guest here on this episode of Talking Taker. He is a friend of one of our friends of the show, Tommy, who you guys watch along Tommy. You've heard him come on our show a few times and talk about The Undertaker. Well, he heard we were talking about Undertaker entrances, and he said, I got a guy who you might want to talk to, who knows a thing about being a part of one of the Undertaker's most legendary entrances. So please welcome to the show Ralph Squillante, who just so happened to be one of the Druids at WrestleMania 14. Ralph, it is a pleasure to have you on the show.
Guys, nice to meet you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for being here, man. What a surprise. We had no idea when we set out to do this episode that we were going to get one of the Druids on the show. That's awesome.
Surely you can't be serious.
We had no idea. So tell us, this happened 24 years ago, so 1998. How did this come to be? Like, how does this opportunity come to somebody?
I began wrestling a little late in my life, but I went up to Killer Kowalski's. Nice. And I'm sure you guys remember Killer Kowalski.
Yeah. Of course.
Walter was a great guy. And there happened to be a couple other students. I couldn't afford his school, so there were a couple other students that teamed up with me, and we went over to work with, rest in peace, Tony Rumble, the original Boston Bad Boy. And Tony was one of those guys who just, if you had heart for the business, he would give you a chance. Back then, they were looking for monsters. Right. I'm the same height as Rey Mysterio, but yeah. So Tony gave me a chance, and I trained with Kowalski. He put up some money, helped me out, put me on a few shows. One day, it was a show that I had actually my very first match. I wrestled King Kong Bundy.
Really? And, wow. Another former Undertaker opponent.
Yeah. Great guy. I really wish he was still around, God rest his soul. He was a fantastic person. But
oh yeah,
we were all invited because Tony Rumble was bringing together something called the Brotherhood, and we were invited to Boston Garden through McMahon and through Kowalski, and they were scouting talent. A few of the guys did some dark matches, and at that time, the previous month, we were asked to go to WrestleMania. Said, would you like to come hang out in back in WrestleMania, check it all out? And of course, I jumped at the chance. There was no way I was saying no. Right. I went to 1, 2, and 3. I was dying to go to this. So.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow. Great.
It was fantastic.
So you've been a fan like your whole life, pretty much.
Forever. Oh yeah, back when I'm so old. I mean, Bob Backlund was. Bruno Sammartino was champion back then.
Oh yeah, man. That's awesome.
First triple champion. Triple threat champion was Pedro Morales.
Of course, yeah. That's awesome.
Had a blast watching those guys, man. Every Saturday morning. So we were invited back there, and there was a group of us just hanging out in the hallways. Now, of course, we don't get get to share a locker room, or we don't get to, hang out in certain areas. So we have to like kind of standing room in the hall, or we find something to sit on and hang out. And some of the wrestlers would just walk by us. Some would stop, say, "Hey guys," introduce themselves. And Vince was doing coming up with a different type of entrance, and he asked some of us, would you like to become Druids? This is how it's going to work out. So he gave us the whole layout, and then they gave us these overalls and these robes to wear, the
cloaks or whatever,
hoods and the cloaks. Yeah. So They're like, this is what we're going to do. We're all going to line up. You guys are going to walk out. Now, me being the shortest guy of them all, I'm like, really? Are you serious? Do I have to wear, like, stilts? Because I'm just not big enough. I said, don't worry, kid. You're going to be okay. Just do as they tell you to.
Right. Now, are you, like, freaking out about this? Or are you just, like, trying to play it cool? Does this... what's going through your head when he comes up to you and says that?
I had absolutely no clue. I'm like, oh, my God. I'm blowing my mind because I'm not a wrestler yet. I'm still green. I just had my first match. And I mean, there were other people there, but he just grabbed people. Just, okay, you. Matter of fact, one Druid, you're going to flip out on this one. One of the Druids was John Moxley.
What?
What? I had no idea he was even anybody. He had pink hair back then.
Yeah. Wow.
Really disgusting. So all of us guys were like, yeah, look at him.
Yeah, sure. I bet back then, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Two of the Druids were also, I think, one of the meanest, rottenest, greatest NWA tag team was Knuckles Nelson and Eric Sprazier. Mr. Intensity, Eric Sprazier. Good people, and they were on, like, back when they had Saturday night, not main event, but the other, like, house shows they used to have.
Sure.
And so they were Druids, and we all followed out. Now, I'm practically, like, wetting my pants because I had no clue what's going on. First thing I've ever done.
But that's okay because you got that big black robe on. You can crap your pants or whatever.
I got away with it. So I'm holding so they send us out, and I'm like the second to last guy next to the cameraman. So I'm pulled over to the right. Now we're supposed to hold the torches straight up. And I'm like, all right, okay. Now I'm starting to shake. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm not paying attention. His music hits. I'm looking around, and I'm still amazed. He comes this close to me and walks right by me. I didn't even know it was him. Thank God the robe was like over my head because I couldn't even see. It was so big and floppy over me.
Oh,
it was like this.
Yeah.
And that's all I could see. So as he walked out, all I saw was the backside of him. But we all, you know, his music hits. He stands. He does the gestures, and all of us, I mean, the rest of the boys are like hanging out, and it was like nothing to them. Me,
oh, sure.
I thought, you know, I was a nobody. I actually got picked.
Yeah.
And I kind of marked out, which something I shouldn't have did, but I didn't care.
I mean, how could you not?
Yeah.
How could you not? You're a lifelong fan, getting to be a part of WrestleMania and do something like that. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so we all, you know, did our circle thing after he hit the ring. We all circled back into the dress room.
Wow.
Got off the ropes. I'm like, I can't believe I just did. No, I'm freaking out. I'm like, man, I'm like 24 years old. I was like, oh my God. So,
and there was no rehearsal. You just did it live the first time?
Well, there was a rehearsal, but it was with different people, less people.
Okay.
And he's like, guys, this is meaningless. All you got to do is just go out in a straight line. It's not that hard. You don't need direction. I'm like,
gotcha.
Whatever.
Nowadays, they probably rehearse it 14 times before
they have to.
Yeah. That's just crazy, man. It was the Wild West back then.
It was, I mean, it was off the chain back then. It was, But we got back into the locker room. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm beside myself because I really don't know. I don't want to mark out. I don't want to be a tough guy. I don't. So I'm like, I don't know what. I didn't know what to do. So I just sat there, and he came over after the match. Triple H came over because I knew Triple H, I knew China. I trained with them, Bastion Booger.
From
Kowalski's school. Yeah.
So, you did good, kid. And I was like, wow, that was awesome. He was like thanking all of us. So he's mixing it up with the other boys, and I really wasn't one for conversation because I didn't want to say the wrong thing, so I kept my mouth shut. So we watched the rest of the show. Mick Foley and Stone Cold are in the corner. They're talking, shooting shit with other wrestlers. Scotty 2 Hotty was there, and just whatever. And they're throwing back beers, no problem.
Oh, sure.
They're like, yeah, have a beer. And he was drinking Coors Light. Like, stuff's gross. But we were all drinking beers, and my mouth, I don't know how, I could have drank a case, and my mouth still would have been dry. I was so nervous. I mean, I've never, ever been, in front of a celebrity. I have a brush with greatness like that. So
yeah. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, I mean,
So
we met him at an autograph signing for just a few seconds, and it was the same thing. Like I could barely speak.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
That was my meeting with Flair. Same thing. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't even say hi to Flair. I was like, it's really, it was the greatest honor and privilege of my life, and I was, I never thought of, a greenhorn like me ever even getting the chance of doing something that big.
Right.
And ever since then, I've been, it was like, it had to have been the greatest moment. And
that's awesome.
Some people won't believe me, but those people that were with me are the ones that believe me, and
Sure.
they'll vouch for me. But it was like,
I mean, once in a lifetime. Like, how many
really
people
unexplainable when
can
it comes
really
to something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Young kid had no idea what was going on. I really, I wish I could do it again.
Sure. Now, can we pick you out if we go back and watch it? Can we see which one you are?
You'll see a backstage. I mean, a shot from the back.
Okay.
The cameraman standing to my left. I am the last one on the right. Second to last one on the right.
All right.
And you can tell if you look, and it's not hard. You can see everybody's this tall, and I'm.
That's it. That's what we need to look for.
I feel you, man.
It was great. Yeah.
You and I talked on the phone earlier today, and you were telling me a little story about going out after the show. And
you really want to talk about that?
I said we try to keep things PG on here, so I don't know if you could do a PG-13 version of the story after the show. We'll see what we can air.
Going back that many years ago, Taker was wild and crazy guy. There was nothing that he didn't do or want to do, or he can do whatever he wanted to do. It didn't matter. Nobody was going to say no to him.
Right.
So one of the guys that we were with, one of the boys, had a tour bus, and he said, we're going down. He says, next show's in Rhode Island. He says, guys, why don't you drop me off in Rhode Island? I could use the ride. So we took him. Scotty came with us. And we went to a local strip club, which I had no idea we were going to stop off. I thought it was just a hotel party and hang out. So we went to a strip club. And the name eludes me, but if I get Club Fantasies, that's it.
Okay.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, I remember because there was this girl. I can't tell you that.
We got it.
I got you.
So we went there, and we all went in, and we were like treated like royalty because there was like a gang of us. You think it was like a bachelor party because like 20 guys all storm in at once. So we all sat down, grabbed our beers, hanging out. He was recognized right away.
Sure.
What can I get for you, Mr. Taker? Can I do this? Can I do that? So all the girls started crowding around him. And there's this big round floor where we were at. This was before this place changed. It's at a new destination now. But all the girls jumped around him, and, they had to kiss him, shake his hand, take pictures with him, rub their boobs on him. And they took care of us. There was an upstairs lounge. He said, come on, guys, we're going upstairs. He went upstairs, private lap dances. He was tossing 20s and 50s, not a problem, having a good old time. I mean, smile never ran away from his face. And the girls were all over him. There was like a girl on each leg, one with giant chest in his face.
Of course, yes.
And we were like overwhelmed. Me being a newbie with a couple other guys that were with me, we had, again, probably the first and only greatest time at a strip club that a guy could ever have. And he was absolutely fantastic to everybody. He treated everybody with respect. And,
Wow.
you know, coming from like most of the wrestlers I've met, and whatever they say about it, whatever you hear about it, most of them, if they say, yeah, that guy was a jerk, well, he really is a jerk. But even though Taker had all the fame and the money and everything, he still knew where he came from, and he treated everybody with respect and had nothing but, like, you know, companionship with everybody. We treated everybody equal. Nobody was better than anyone else.
That's why I think that's a cool story, is because he didn't
Really
know you
nice guy.
from Adam, and there he was, you know, taking care of you on this night and making sure you had an awesome time. And that's what makes that story awesome.
That's
It was so
Mark
much fun.
Calloway being a gentleman. Yeah, exactly. So that's awesome.
Really. We heard stories about how he was up and coming in AWA, where he went to NWA, WCW. We heard about Dan Spivey and his habits and the kind of women he liked to go out with. And he was phenomenal. I mean, the stories, you could sit for hours with him, and
Yes.
Oh,
you would never, ever be tired of listening to the story.
yeah.
It's not like an old man who tells the same story over and over again, just adds a little bit to it each time.
Right.
He's got a different story for every day. And, I mean, this guy is like, he had to be one of the greatest. And to shake his hand, I am not a big man, but I shook his hand, and his whole hand engulfed mine. And it was awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, oh my God, there were times where I just wanted to like hold his hand, like, oh, let's go hang out. You know, I'm so excited. And I couldn't say, let's take a picture together. So
Right. You couldn't do that
you
back
know,
then. No.
I would have loved to have taken a picture, but
You got
I
the
would love
memories,
to meet
man.
him again. I haven't seen him since then.
Yeah. Well, that would be cool if you could, and, you know, tell him that story and you know,
He'd
see if
have
he,
fun.
yeah,
In a hot-
yeah, that's awesome. Well, Ralph, it's been an honor to have you tell
Yeah,
that
dude.
story. Is there a place anywhere, any social media, anything you want to plug, or any place people can
Ron
connect
just
with you?
retired. I'm just on Facebook.
All right.
You know, my wrestling pictures are up there from way back in the day.
Cool.
I worked Disco Inferno 1,000 years ago, and
Love disco.
yeah, he was. Yeah.
I love disco.
That's another
I love
character
it.
right there.
That's
That could be,
I love disco.
that could be a whole other podcast.
Yeah,
Great guy.
yeah.
guy.
He is.
Ralph, thank you so much for joining us, man. What a cool, unique story, and I know our listeners are going to love hearing all this, man. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
Same here, and thank you very much. This has been a learning experience because I'm not good with this stuff. I usually do everything by camera, but this was
You
fun.
did great.
This was really
You
fun.
did
No,
Great.
yeah. I'll like I said, the episode will come out on Sunday, so I'll send you the link to it in case you want to check it out. So
Absolutely. And do me a favor, say hi to Tommy on the spot for me.
I will,
We will.
absolutely,
Thank
man.
you very much for this.
We will.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ralph.
thank you,
Take her
guys.
easy, buddy. Take her easy.
Good night.
All right, folks.
back.
And we're back. Thanks, Ralph, for joining us. Man, Tommy reached out to me yesterday. I didn't know what to expect. What an incredible story.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
Once
Thanks
in
for
a
having
lifetime.
Him. Yeah, literally once in a lifetime for him. And yeah,
so
so
cool.
good.
What a unique experience. And I'm so glad we got to share that here on Talking Taker. That's what it's all about. You always ask Travis if you were at the show. Ralph was at the show, and he's got
There
a
you go.
story to tell about it. Before we close things out, though, let's just talk about some of the matches that did not make our top 10 list that were close to coming on there for us.
Yeah, I want to throw out some that were just spectacular entrances, but they weren't for a match as well. So
Yeah, let's talk
we'll
about
do
those
that.
two, because I definitely considered them. And I wouldn't have had a problem if you put them in there.
What do you want to start with?
I'm thinking Royal Rumble 2006 as he comes out
Thank you.
with the horses.
The horses, dude. Yeah. You kidding me?
Yeah.
Comes out with the horses on a chariot. It's
Yeah.
insane. So good. But again, it wasn't a match entrance, you know. So that was one of the. I had these 10, had that written down, then I had this next one, which is Survivor Series 2005.
Yep.
Comes out, dude, kicking out of a flaming casket. Are you
It's
freaking
so good.
kidding me? It's one of the greatest entrances ever. But again, because it wasn't from a match, I took it off my list. So those two really stand out to me. Obviously, the introduction of the Biker Taker at Backlash. Judgment Day. Judgment Day 2000. I said Backlash earlier. That's what I meant.
That was in my top 10 until this morning. I actually bumped it out for something else. But I did
well,
have that
again, it wasn't a match, but it's so good. You know,
he just comes out kicking butt on DX.
Yeah.
It just
He's got all his
slamming,
finishers stored
tombstone everybody.
Yeah, it's just so good.
I think a surprising one that I saw a lot of people talk about, which I went back and watched. It is great, but I've forgotten about it. Was SummerSlam '94. Where he's facing off against the Undertaker, but Paul Bearer pushes a casket out to the ring. He opens the casket. The giant urn is in the casket. He takes the urn out. It's got the spotlight in the urn, and Taker finally returns. It is great, but that one did not come to mind. But a lot of people mentioned it.
Yeah, well, because it didn't jump out to me, I didn't think about it. But yeah, it is a good one. It is a good one. I'm trying to think of some spectacular ones with him and Kane. Well, just seeing them. Well, more their exits are kind of cooler together, actually, not their entrances.
That's a good point. Yeah. Survivor Series 2015, when they face the Wyatt family, is cool because there's got like a giant casket with a video screen hitting some highlights of Taker's career out there. WrestleMania 34 is a great one that almost made my list, where Cena's walking up the ramp, and he thinks he's not going to face Taker, but then Taker's robe and jacket appear in the ring. Lightning strikes them, and that's a good one.
And that was his return. We hadn't seen him in a year, so yeah, that was a big deal, and you were there for that. So I honestly thought that might have been on your list.
Well, I'm surprised Mania 27 was not on your list, because it was almost on mine.
Yeah, we were there for that one, and it was so good. And
Johnny Cash song.
Johnny Cash, yeah. But I think just because these other ones, man, they just stood out more, just have more iconic. But it is a great entrance.
Did Survivor Series 2020 ever come into play for you? Because that was close to making mine with the Tesla coils and his grand finale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one was on here. Well, it was. If I had written down 13, that would have been the 13th one. It was I was like, I'm on again. It wasn't a match though.
It's not a match. There's no fans there.
So I took it off.
Well, interestingly, I looked at the WWE's YouTube channel. They have a top 10 Undertaker entrances that came out in 2020. So it came out after he retired. Let me read those off real quick because it's very, very different than ours.
Yeah.
Number 10 for them was Royal Rumble 98, which is, I didn't understand that one. That's not a spectacular entrance in my opinion. Mania 21, which is him kind of like gliding
levitating
out to the ring.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
SummerSlam 92.
Taz is on commentary, so it's like kind of takes away from it.
Unforgiven 2007. Do you remember that one?
No.
Yeah, I didn't either, but it is him. He'd been out for a while, and he comes back against Mark Henry, and it is pretty spectacular. There's some big flaming XTs that light on fire. Yeah. It's a pretty good entrance. Mania 19, Mania 14, Mania 29. Their number 3 is Royal Rumble 06, which you just mentioned. Survivor Series 96 is their number 2, and then Survivor Series 05, which you just mentioned. So 2 that we did not rank.
Survivor Series 05, dude, he's got a beard when he comes out, and he looks awesome.
That is cool.
Yeah. So.
All right, let me read some Twitter followers. Let me kind of blow through these because we mentioned a lot of them, but I want to share just what a wide variety of responses we got. Drew Carfrey, who we heard from last month on the Thank You Taker episode, said WrestleMania 20, Return of the Dead Man, Paul Bearer's iconic voice, Chef's Kiss. Princeton John, who of course we heard from last month, said SummerSlam 94, still gives me the goosebumps. Jamar at Jams90KD said favorite Undertaker entrance was WrestleMania 14. First time we saw the Druids with the flaming torches in O Fortuna. Simon at SimonTHFC9983 has a gif of WrestleMania 29, said seeing this live was pretty special. Great match that followed it as well. Watch
Xavier
along.
Woods is one of those guys down there.
I knew. It's like I know there's some guys on the roster that were there.
He talks
some
about
NXT
that.
guys. Yeah.
It's his first WrestleMania.
Watch along Tommy. Of course, we just mentioned him, friend of the show. This is a cool one that he brought up that I did not think of. Madison Square Garden, 2009, the Raw before Survivor Series 2009.
This was Jericho?
Yes, DX, John Cena, and he's got the Druids come out. He walks through like the old school MSG entrance. It's a very cool entrance.
That is a cool one.
The Procrastinator said John Cena at WrestleMania 34 up against him purely for the story build-up and payoff, and then the gleeful squashing was just so good.
Yes.
Young Kings Wrestling said WrestleMania 20, which we both said. Down Undertaker, guest on our show last month on the Thank You Taker episode. Back as the Undertaker at WrestleMania after being the American Badass was so great. So he's saying WrestleMania 20, having Paul Bearer bring him back made it even more epic. Collecting Dead Man, friend of the show, brought up one that we did not bring up, which is one of his favorites, WrestleMania 15, because we get that spiked Ministry cloak, the Amish Taker goatee. He's a huge Ministry fan, so I understand that.
Just not. So
it's a good entrance. It's a good look.
I'm saying I'm not a Ministry,
right.
Taker fan.
We're not huge Ministry guys.
He's heavy there too.
Heavyweight champion. Shelby Scotcha said WrestleMania 14 and WrestleMania 20, the gear and spectacle of WrestleMania 14 and coming back as the Dead Man at Mania 20 was also amazing. So I think those are pretty consensus top three picks for everybody. And then Randy Turco, let me end with this because you got to go check it out on Twitter. You got to go with the images here. But he says, late to the party, but remember in Full House when Uncle Jesse was kicked out of Jesse and the Rippers, so he went solo and became Vulture? Yeah, that was the entrance from Survivor Series 1996. And the picture he posts is spot on.
I know exactly what he's talking about. I almost sang John Stamos' song in my show last week.
Excuse me?
From Full House. Forever. I thought about covering that.
And then he says,
Andy, thank you, brother. That was insane.
Big fan of Taker using his Mattel hoverboard to get to the ring at WrestleMania 21 with a picture of Michael J. Fox from Back to the Future. So
yes.
Randy always bringing the heat.
Always good.
So there you go, man. That is The Undertaker's greatest entrances. Man, we've covered way more than 10 of them, but that's our top 10. That's the fans' story. That's the fans' votes for him. But we definitely love to hear more. We'd love to hear more of your feedback. What'd you think of our personal top 10 list, man? Anything else you want to add to that, Travis?
No, man. I don't think we can add anything else.
I don't think there's much else to add.
Nope. So, that's good. We appreciate you guys coming in there and saying all that and participating. And, let us know what you think of ours. Again, they're our personal ones. Don't be too mean. But, tell us what you think.
Of course. You can do that on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at Talking Taker. Be sure to give us a follow and a like. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you listen, wherever you watch. For sure, check out the YouTube channel because we post the full video versions of these podcasts every month. We come out on the first of every month now, but we've got 200 episodes worth back in the archives. So be sure to check that out. But I am posting some figure unboxings as I'm adding to the Undertaker figure collection.
You disappeared.
I disappeared.
Yeah, I can hear you, but I can't see you. I wonder if they can see you.
There we go. I think
there you are.
No.
All right.
So definitely watch the videos because I definitely am doing great with the videos here. But I think you can see me for most of it.
You can't see me.
But yeah, we got videos coming out every week. Trying to do every week on the YouTube channel. So supplementing the podcast, please give us a subscription over there and check us out. And then a couple other notes, but I want to do this. It's a long thing, but I'm going to try to hit the highlights of it. But Princeton John, friend of the show, before we finish out here, Princeton John 2 on Twitter, he went to WrestleMania this year, and he went to the Hall of Fame. So he did give us a on-the-scene report, and it's a great analysis of everything. Let me see if I can hit the highlights here as we close things out here. He had never been to a wrestling show live and in person before. This was his first time as a fan.
Wow.
So he drove over, saw all the fans, had his Undertaker shirt on, said his wife went with him, and she was bored at SmackDown most of the night, but she immediately had crushes on Finn Balor, Ricochet, the Usos, and Roman Reigns, so she was into it from that point on. Yeah. And he said TV did not do justice to how loud the arena was when Undertaker came out. So much louder than what you heard. Everyone loved him, and it was an incredible experience.
Awesome.
So he went to both nights of WrestleMania as well. It was a packed house. He had floor seats, so not too far from the ring. Hey, dude, if you're going to go to your first show, that's the way to do it.
You can go hard, man.
Loudest pops were Stone Cold and Undertaker, Bianca Belair, and Cody Rhodes. Incredible right there. And then on night two, before night two, he got to go to one of the meet and greets with the dead man. So he got to meet the Undertaker and shake his hand. He had...
Tell him take her easy?
I don't think he did that, but they waited in line. He's talked about they were trying to rush everybody through these pictures, but he really was all about getting that photo with Taker, and I think they had some issues with the timing of it, but they had a guy working there that was really nice to them and made sure they got in the right place, in the right line, made it just in time. He says he was super shy, but he shook Taker's hand and said, "It is an honor to meet you. I've been a fan since I was a little kid." And he says, "You don't understand how big Taker is until you meet him in person."
True.
But he was super nice. He said his wife was like standing off to the side because the ticket was really only for one person to get a picture. But Taker said, "No, bring her over. Come on, she can be in the picture." Awesome. And she ran over there, took the pictures, shook his hand, said thank you for everything, and they walked out. And he said he just had to take a few minutes to breathe after that moment, but it was awesome. Totally worth it. They composed ourselves, and then there was like a video booth where you could send a video message thanking the Undertaker to him. So that's pretty neat. I never heard anything like that before.
Awesome.
Then they went through the Undertaker graveyard exhibit at the Access event, which is very, very cool. We've done that a few times, so everyone should check that out whenever they get a chance. They got to see the statue and all that good stuff. And yeah, said night two was amazing as well. And this had to be a top 3 weekend of his entire life right here. So he shared the pictures, all that good stuff. Thank you, Princeton John. Love that on-the-scene report, and I'm so happy for you, man. That's so freaking exciting.
Oh, yeah, that's super exciting. That's what we wish we could have done those things. That's awesome, man. Thanks for going and giving us that report, man. That's phenomenal. That's
Glad
so cool.
One of our listeners could be there. Travis, you and I will be there at SummerSlam this year.
We will be at the SummerSlam.
How about that?
Hey, man, it is in Nashville, Tennessee, which is a 4.5-hour drive for me. We'll figure out how you're getting there. You can come ride with us or whatever, man. With me and you and 3 of my buddies from here in Kingsport are going. We got the cheap seats, so it's going to be great, man. I can't wait. Honestly, it wasn't even about spending a bunch of money to go and do it hard like Prince and John just did. I wish I could do that, but it's just about going and just saying that we've been. You and I haven't been to a show together in a long time, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And then my buddies up here are going to have a lot of fun. Some of them don't even care about wrestling. They're going to go anyway because they're going to have a blast. I told them they're going to have fun. So it's going to be great, you know. We're going to have a good time at Titans Stadium. I lived in Nashville 5 years and never went to a Titans game. But I'm going to a Titans game for SummerSlam.
That's right.
Titans Stadium for SummerSlam. So, yeah, excited. It's on a Saturday night, which is great. So, yeah, can't wait for that. We will give you guys our on-the-scene reporting from that night.
Absolutely. And if you're going to SummerSlam too, let us know. Maybe we can meet up or see you somewhere and see you at the concession stand or something like that. Figure something out. That'd be cool if there's any listeners out there going to the SummerSlam. Travis, you got anything to plug? I believe you got some new music that might be coming out by the end of the month.
Yeah. As of this recording, I just heard my new songs I recorded last month today. And so we should have a release date of May 13th. Hopefully, that's preliminary. So hopefully by the time you hear this, we'll have a new little EP, 2 new songs. Well, 1 brand new song, 1 song I dusted off from about 20 years ago and brought it
Very
out,
cool.
and then 2 kind of remakes of songs I've done in the past. But
All right.
this one's a different project for me. It's got some female voices on it, so check it out and see what you think. Tell me what you think, and yeah, I appreciate you guys listening.
And where can people find all that?
Spotify, Apple Music, everything.
right.
What else is there? Amazon Music, YouTube. YouTube.com/Travis White. I'll have them on there. My Instagram is at Travis White Music. I just do strictly music on there. So anyway, yeah, check it out. Hopefully May 13th it'll be streaming. It's called Sirens. Travis
Can't
White's
wait.
Sirens.
I'm excited to hear it. We will plug that and hope everybody checks that out. Once again, subscribe to our podcast. We will see you guys on June 1st with our next episode. Topic to be announced, maybe to be voted on. I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure out what we'll talk about on June 1st. Something, digging up the dead man. But one last thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to everyone who participated in the Thank You Taker episode. That was so special last
cool.
month. So very cool. What a great experience. And thanks to everyone who's been around and helped us get to 200 episodes and counting. And just what a special milestone. I definitely, who would have ever thought we'd committed to it and kept around and hung around this long. Most podcasts don't make it this far, and it's not just because you and I have a blast doing it. It's because you, the listeners, have supported us and liked us and interacted with us and been there along for the ride, whether it's for 1 episode or all 200 episodes. So thank you to each and every one of you, the ones that comment, the ones that just listen, the ones that lurk. We heard from people that wrote in and sent in videos last week I'd never heard of before. I didn't even know they were listeners, so that's cool. So I know there's more of you out there. Just very, very special thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and we're going to keep it going, even with the Undertaker competing against us now.
Competition, produces greatness, so maybe we'll just keep improving. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, man, you guys, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us for this long one. You know what? This is kind of like one of his entrances. It's really long, but it's full of great stuff, So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the breaking news at the beginning, and then the random interview we had in the middle. That's awesome. We're so glad to have Ralph on here. But, ladies and gentlemen, let us know what you thought about this and what your favorite entrance is, and we will see you next month. Stay safe out there, and most importantly, take her easy.